Hi, I'm Bob,
And I'm Sherry.
and this is Mostly Politics with Bob and Sherry.
And today we have the pleasure to interview congressional candidate for Pennsylvania District 17, Jeremy Shaffer, back on the show. And even more exciting, Mrs. Shaffer is joining us today. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us again.
Well, thank you.
Jeremy, how's the campaign going?
It's going great. I am just about every day we're going out and about talking to people from Beaver County to Moon to Wilkinsburg up to all corners of this district, really. And people are concerned about the direction of our country. And I'm talking to them about real solutions to help get us back on track.
And Stacey, this is the second time your husband running for office. And tell us from your perspective, why do you think Jeremy is the best candidate to represent all of us?
Sure. Thank you, Sherry and Bob. Thank you for having me on as well as Jeremy today. We're actually really excited. I'm excited for him. And I'll tell you, Jeremy and I, we went to high school together. So I've known him for a really long time. And I've watched him over the years grow and develop. I can tell you from the very beginning, he's always had a heart for service, and also he's a tremendous leader. Jeremy is a very bright and passionate individual, and he's driven by a desire to serve those around him and really to make the community around him, wherever that is, a better place, and to use those skills that he has to be able to do that.
So you have 5 children, and you're helping Jeremy running for office as well. How are the kids doing? How are the campaign affecting the family life?
Sure, that's a great question. We have 5 children. Our oldest is starting her senior year in high school, so it's a big year for her. And our youngest is actually just starting first grade. And so we have kids kind of really at every stage of growth and development there. And I can tell you that they are fully on board with this campaign and with their father. So just like Jeremy and I, a big part of the fabric of our family is service. And so they're excited to be able to be a part of it. If you've been following Jeremy's campaign at all, the kids and I are with him at most everything he goes to. He'll have, 1 or 2 or all 6 of us with him, and we really try to allow each of the children to interact and take part in the campaign in the ways that they are most comfortable individually. And they're just really proud of their dad and proud to be part of it.
Jeremy, how do you handle when your opponent or outside groups say things about you that aren't true?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. And, one of the reasons why so many people are turned off about politics is because all of the negativity and really the untruths that are out there. My philosophy is always that you just speak truth. You speak truth into that darkness. And for us, I encourage people to go to our website, to our campaign website. We post my true position on issues. I'm happy to talk in depth with anyone about any of the issues. And I always encourage people to come to me, to come to our website directly if they hear something they think is incorrect, which sadly oftentimes it is. And they can read the truth right on our website, which is just my name, jeremyshaffer.com.
So, Stacey, how are you and the kids handling the attack on your husband and their fathers? And that's not true.
Sure. Yeah. As Jeremy just mentioned, I think that it can be a challenging thing. When you run for public office, your life is you're living your life in front of the community. But thankfully, it's not a new thing to us. We've always lived a way that we want to be transparent, and we always have an open door policy with our neighbors and the people around us. And so in terms of, weathering that situation, we just talked to the children about it, and they know who their father is. They know that he is a man of integrity and cares deeply about our country and about them. And you just have to remember who you are, and that's all there is to it.
Jeremy, we saw some of your ads online, the little video clips. 2 of them were about energy independence, and one was about hiring more police to keep neighborhoods safe. Are those some of the primary issues you'll be focusing on if you get elected?
Yeah, those are two very big issues. Right now, here in Western Pennsylvania, one of the things we're blessed with, we have an amazing, hardworking workforce. Our people are really our greatest asset here in Western PA. But directly underneath our feet, we sit on the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. And that is an enormous blessing. And when people see electricity bills that are rising, they see their natural gas bills that are rising, they see the bills at the gas pump that are rising. Energy prices affect so many things. And we have the solution right here in Western Pennsylvania beneath us. If we can safely utilize the natural gas that we have here, which we can, that will provide thousands of high-paying jobs. And it allows us not to have to go to foreign dictators and beg them to produce more energy. So this is a fundamental thing for our national security and for our local economy, for helping people to do better with their families. And yes, on the police front, I am proud to be endorsed by all the local fraternal order of polices. They know that I've always stood up for the police, that I've stood up for our communities. I am very passionate about keeping our communities safe, and it's something that, it breaks my heart when I see these shootings, when I see the rise of violence in our communities. And we have the resources that we can spend, instead of on frivolous things, if we prioritize correctly, we can hire more police officers and we can keep our communities safe.
Another thing that is impacting the public safety is the fentanyl epidemic. It seems like our borders open, the fentanyl's flooding in. How concerned are you that we're no longer manufacture any important products in the United States? We depend on China, and now these fentanyls flooding in from the border.
So very concerned. People don't realize it's one tiny grain, like the size of a grain of salt of fentanyl, can kill someone. So, when you have, sadly, oftentimes people very unintentionally, they might eat something, they might be at a party that there might be something that's laced with fentanyl. It could be enough to kill them, and we've seen that in certain situations. So sadly, it's often a very overlooked epidemic that's affecting families throughout this region, throughout this country. And we absolutely need to secure our border. We need to secure our border in so many different ways. But allowing all these illegal drugs to pour through and not being able to control the people that come through the border, this is a fundamental issue for national security. And then when you get onto the trade issue too, this region has seen the dire consequences of really outsourcing a good chunk of our domestic production capabilities to foreign countries. And we have seen these trade deals oftentimes work in only one direction. So we definitely need to stand up to places like the Communist Chinese Party and be able to bring some of these jobs back here to Western Pennsylvania.
Stacey, how do you feel about the drug problem and some of these other problems plaguing our communities and Jeremy's solutions? You think Jeremy's on the right track?
Absolutely. I think he's on the right track. I'll tell you, it's very concerning. And it's not a new thing, but I think we see it magnifying and continuing to increase. I'm not sure if, during the COVID pandemic, if that, escalated things as well. But, I think we see it in our communities across the country, but also right here in southwestern Pennsylvania. I'm a physician, and I've worked with people who have struggled with drug addictions, and it's a difficult situation. It's something that people really need help, and it doesn't help having the drugs just pouring in across the border. And I think too about the border safety issue with human trafficking as well. Likewise, is also a major issue that really we don't hear that much about.
Jeremy, you mentioned about communism China, and famously Ronald Reagan used to say, peace through strength. And clearly that has not been working out very well for United States in the last couple of years, because now communism China is talking about possibly going to invading Taiwan, and is doing a lot of very dangerous military practice in the area and cross the border. We already seen what happened to Ukraine. So what are your thoughts on that, as far as, being that if you elect into Congress, there's a lot of decisions you will make that to strengthen our military?
That's right. So, we live in a dangerous world. There's a lot of bad actors there that are against the freedom that we have in this country. And when they sense weakness, they try to seize on that opportunity they perceive against us and to fight against us. And if you go back, it was just about a year ago that we had a disastrous pullout in Afghanistan that cost American lives, that Putin and Xi looked at, and they perceived a lack of leadership here in the United States, a lack of being able to stand up against them. And it really wasn't long after that you saw Putin rolling into Ukraine, because he sensed that weakness that's there. So we must be united as a country. We must project strength. We must stand up for our allies. And we need to have a strong military that can defend our national interests and that can defend ourselves against this, in this dangerous world that's out there.
And so what are your thoughts on allowing Chinese investors that have relationship with the communism government buying up our farmland?
Well, obviously, I am opposed to that. We really need to maintain ownership and control of our strategic resources, and we cannot allow Communist China to be buying up our farmland or other critical natural assets that we have. We need to protect those, and we need to have the laws in place to prevent that from happening.
If China invades Taiwan, we lose the biggest chip manufacturer in the world. They provide 95% of the computer chip that's for your car, for your cell phone, for your computers. And if China took over Taiwan, it also will form a good... India will also come in line with China, and India produces a lot of our medicine. When you go on the campaign trail, how do you communicate with voters that make them understand some of our policy is causing to put our country in such a danger that we may not be able to turn back?
Yeah. So, I think people, when I talk with them out there, they're very dissatisfied with the direction of our country. And that is in a variety of different ways. And I think one of the key concerns is they feel like their leadership has oftentimes not acted in the best interest of our country, not in the strategic interest of our country. And we've seen that over and over again with losing control of the manufacturing of some of our critical resources. That's made us dependent on foreign countries for some of the things that we absolutely need to function. And we saw that during the pandemic, where we realized that over 90% of certain medicines and the material needed to produce those medicines was coming from places like China. And that puts us in a very bad strategic position. So we absolutely need to get control of the supply chain so that we are not dependent on these foreign countries, which are hostile to us, and then they're able to use that against us.
So, Jeremy, term limits have been an issue in your campaign. Would you talk about that?
Yeah, this is something I feel very passionate about. When I talk to people, as an engineer, I look at Congress, I look at our government, and right now I see a very broken system. Look, I'm 45 years old. There are people who are currently serving in Congress that have been serving in Congress for longer than I have been alive. And that's in both parties. And it should not be that way. Congress was designed to be a place where citizens could come, they represent their communities, they go to Congress, they make votes, they go back, they get input, and then you get more citizens to come. It was not designed to be a career, a lifetime that you're in Congress, and sadly, oftentimes people are using it to enrich their families and themselves. There's something wrong when people go into Congress and they don't have any money, and then 20 years later, they leave, and all of a sudden they've got $20 million in the bank, and their family has gotten that. The system is broken, and term limits is one of the things that we can do to really reset the system and to get it back on track.
So, as a freshman member of the House, how would you go about getting something like that done? I mean, we've heard talk about term limits for a long time, and I do know a lot of people care about it.
Term limits is something really, it's a bipartisan issue. This is not a Republican issue, a Democrat issue. This is an issue for the good of the country. So there's a lot of these issues where we can just be, let's be Team America here. Let's work for the good of the country. I will work with Democrats, with Republicans, with independents to try to get this passed. To do this, we'll need a constitutional amendment. The very first bill that I will introduce will be a bill for term limits. And that is something that I will work across the aisle to try to get as many supporters as possible. For as long as I'm in Congress, until something like that passes, that will be the very first bill that I introduce, and I'll be working with both parties to try to get that done. And I think that the vast, vast majority of Americans also realize that's something that we need.
Well, you mentioned about a lot of these people, they have no money, they get voted in, they start enriching themselves. A little bit about you guys, your background. You came from a very modest to low economic status family. You went to Carnegie Mellon and became very successful through entrepreneurship. And how important it is for our policies to encourage entrepreneurship rather than giving up everything for free.
No, that's a great point. You know, I always tell people all the time, I was blessed to be born in the greatest country in the history of the world. And that allowed someone like myself, who was born to very modest means, born with really humbly in a family that was really struggling. And, I was able to know that if I worked hard, that I could take advantage of the freedoms and the opportunities that we had in this great country. And that's something I did. Mowed a lot of yards, worked very hard in school, got an academic scholarship to go to college, ended up getting a fellowship at Carnegie Mellon, and used that fellowship. And I've always had a passion to solve problems. And so, here in Pittsburgh, we have a lot of bridges, and I started a company working to develop software for bridge inspection and bridge management to improve the safety of our bridges. Never was able to crack into the Pennsylvania bridge market, but did work all over the country and all over the world, and created 35 high-paying jobs right here in Pittsburgh because of that. And so I've really gone from the very bottom rung of the economic ladder to close to the top because of the hard work and the freedoms and opportunities. And I think that one of the things that makes this country great is that passion, that work ethic, that entrepreneurial spirit, that can-do attitude that we have. And that's something that we need to encourage among all people, to show people that if they work hard, if they apply themselves, there's a path to be able to succeed. Whether that's, anything from being an auto mechanic, to being an engineer, to being a doctor, to being a teacher, any career path you have, if you're able to work hard, that there is a path for you to be able to provide for your family and be able to succeed in this country.
And Stacey, so you have known Jeremy since he's in high school, so you kind of know the whole process, how he became successful. And you're very successful yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Trying to think of where to begin. So I'm the daughter of a United States Marine colonel. So I grew up moving all over the country every 3 years. And I also, like Jeremy, had to work hard and work in school and athletics. So I was a track and field athlete in college, and went on to be able to go to medical school. And I'm a geriatric internal medicine physician. My career was actually all at the VA hospital. Very proud to have had the opportunity to serve our veterans, and currently I'm not practicing with our 5 children. I'm putting my focus on them at home here, and also on supporting Jeremy as he runs for Congress, and I'm proud to be able to do that as well.
And Stacey's very modest, so she was a Division I All-American in track and field, and she also served as a chief resident and had many accolades throughout her medical career, which hopefully she'll be able to get back with. But the real Dr. Shaffer here has had many successes, and we're very honored to be able to be married with her and the team that we're able to have. Yeah.
So what do you tell the people out there, because a conservative woman like you that made a conscious choice of being a mom, a supportive wife, in today's culture are not being kind of being looked down upon. And conservative women oftentimes look at as being submissive and weak. Clearly, you had a choice to make, and you made a choice to be a mom and be a supporting wife. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Does that make you a weak person?
Well, I don't think so.
Well, I don't
No.
know. She's pretty powerful in this
Yeah.
house. So.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I mean that's a great question, and actually I agree. I think it is very countercultural, particularly at this time. And I think as a wife and a mom and as a female professional as well, I have to tell you, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision, but once we had our children, and I saw just how important it is to pour into your children when they're young. We made the difficult decision, that I actually was very honored and blessed to have the opportunity to make, to be able to stay home, to take care of them. One concern that I have with the direction of our country right now is just the attack on families, Sherry. That I see. I mean, and again, it's not new, but it just seems to be escalating, where we just see more and more instances of government overreach, whether it's at the federal, state, or local level, really on the sphere of where parents should be the ones making decisions with their children and for their children. And so I'm really happy to be able to be a very active part of our family and be able to really work alongside our children and Jeremy as we raise our family together. My hats are also off to, I have many colleagues that are women who are wives and mothers as well in the medical field and all across so many different fields. And I'm just continually amazed at how well they're able to balance and also very passionate about their children's education and development and make contributions in the community as well. So I always say I've done it all. I've had children and worked full time, part time, and not outside the home at all. And I think there's a place for everyone and a time and season for it all. So
yeah. When we had our first child, Stacey was a medical resident, working almost 80 hours a week. I was basically Mr. Mom for a few years there, taking care of our kids while she was pursuing her professional endeavors. And we've worked through the different seasons of our life and had different roles where it was me and her doing the primary caregiving. That's something a lot of families and couples in this area have to deal with.
Yeah.
And to your point, Sherry, too, about sort of the maybe the reputation that sometimes women who have conservative values might be meek and submissive. I think it's anything but true. I think very much the opposite. I think to be a woman with conservative values at this time actually requires great leadership and courage. As we seek to instill those values into our children and also just share the importance of those values for our community and our culture as well.
We meet a lot of politicians. We interview them, we meet them outside, and some people sort of strike you as ambitious. They're hardworking, ambitious people that like to achieve. Other people seem more like a true heart of a public servant. Where do you fall on that?
Well, I would hope that I have a true heart of a public servant here, but I also am ambitious in the sense that I want to serve this community and do what's best for this community. So I'm not looking to just fill up space in D.C. Sadly, one of the things I've seen is that sometimes people aspire to positions just for the benefits of those positions. Look, I've been very successful, very blessed in this life. It would be an honor to serve in Congress, but that's not something that I need to be fulfilled. So I'm looking at doing this because I really have a passion to solve problems for this community and to serve this community. I will do that, hopefully, maybe for a few terms, and then hand the reins over to someone else who will have more energy and take it from there and be able to advance us a little bit further down the road.
Sometimes it's hard. As I've grown up in America, I mean, I'm almost 60 years old. It seemed like when I was younger, there was more of a kind of consensus about right and wrong, a moral consensus. And now it seems like there's just polarization. I mean, people just can't agree on fundamental basic ideas of right, wrong, good, bad. What guides you in that?
Yeah, obviously each of us have our own value set. I was taught, to love this country growing up, to be patriotic and to care deeply, the values of family, the importance of relationships, the importance of right and wrong. And we all get that from our family history, from our culture, from our religious beliefs. All of that together really guides me. And I really have a passion to see this country being in a better place than it is right now. And I do think that as I talk with Democrats, independents, and Republicans, I do have hope that the vast majority of people, when you get out of the noise of an echo chamber that we often see on the internet, do really care about this country and do want to see this country improving. So I do feel passionate that even though sometimes there's extremes on both sides, that we will be able to work together and make this country an even better place.
We all know how much the grocery has gone up in the grocery store, and you have a family of, you have 5 kids to feed. Even with good economic means, do you feel it at the grocery store?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I do most of the grocery shopping. But yes, I definitely seen the prices going up. We're fortunate that, we have the disposable income. We're able to handle that. It really breaks my heart when I talk to people out there and they're talking about having to make some very, very difficult choices about whether or not, to fill up their tank of their gas in their car, or be able to buy certain groceries, to be able to, you talk to people, it's like, well, their kids can't do Little League Baseball because they can't afford the entrance fee or the cleats for the baseball. That's something that just breaks my heart. And it does not have to be this way. This inflation has been, we don't have to be in this situation. We have a government that is right now just pouring money. It's like pouring gasoline onto the fire, and it's just causing this inflation to go. As I said earlier, we have the energy right here. We don't have to be paying these outrageous prices for gas, for electricity, for our energy bills. We can help drive down the price of inflation through responsible budgeting, through responsible uses of our natural resources. And that's something I feel very passionately about, to fight for the communities and the people of this district, whether it's someone on a fixed income or someone from young family. Look, when inflation is running right now at over 9%, that's as if you've just lost your entire month of January paycheck. That's just been robbed from you from inflation. And even some of your February paycheck has been taken from you. And we absolutely have to get that under control.
The school just started and it's online. A lot of families are complaining because our kids are falling behind compared to not only other states, but internationally. There was a study done in 2015 and 2018. They compare children of age 15 across, I believe, 50 countries. And America is reading, science, and math. America ranked number 24 with reading and science and 39 in mathematics. The top three country that actually score the best is China, Singapore, and Hong Kong, which is, China's our nemesis, essentially. So how do you feel about that? And a lot of parents are complaining and saying that our kids are not really learning the basic skills at school.
Yeah, so I feel very strongly about this. I mean, clearly, in this congressional district, by test scores, we have some of the best school districts in the country, and we also have some of the worst school districts in the country. But I also know firsthand with our 5 children that one size does not fit all. Each of our own children has very different needs and very different ways that they learn and that they respond to that. And, some of our kids are in public school, and the ones that are in public school are thriving. They're doing excellent in the public schools that they've been in. Some of our kids, we've made the decision that at this season, we still have 2 kids that are being homeschooled, and that Stacey is focused on homeschooling. That's helping meet some of their needs. And we even have 1 kid in private school that meets her specific needs. So, I think that when you empower parents to make the choices that are best for their individual kids, that you can allow those kids to succeed. But clearly right now, we are spending an enormous amount of money on education. And we are, for some children, that's working out great. And for other kids, they're really struggling. And right now in this country, in this area, a lot of times it's really based on the zip code that you live in as to the type of schools that you're able to get. And that's something that if we can empower parents, then we can really get a much better results and allow kids to succeed in their life.
Whenever you talk about parents' choice or school choice, oftentimes the people are saying that you're going to destroy our education system. But what's really frustrating is that actually allowed the people who live in the poor neighborhood to get a better education. It will encourage more diversity. How do you, it will go back to the thing that a lot of people are saying things that's not true. How do you tell the parents, and like you said, some of the worst school district, and to say, hey, school choices really will help your kids out?
I think the pandemic has really opened up a lot of people's eyes in the educational arena as to what options are out there. And, for most people, public schools are a great option. But for other people who are in certain school districts, what they're seeing right now is maybe those school districts aren't delivering for their kids. The first thing I would really encourage people to do is get active in their local school boards, because that's really where the rubber meets the road on these issues. But then, yes, look at what options are out there. If your kid is struggling in a certain school, there are options that are out there, and that you should look at those. And you need to do what's best for each individual child. And it is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Well, hey, thanks, guys. I really, really enjoyed the time we spent together.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's been an honor to be here. Really appreciate your time and your passion for helping educate the voters on the different candidates here that are running.
Thank you.